Alright, hey, what's up? So, just gonna sit here and talk for a bit. Just gonna talk about 2024 and how much of an interesting year it was. There's a lot of things that have happened this year. A lot of good, a lot of bad. It's been one of the most up and down years I've had ever. Both just in terms of, life as well as my mental state. Just a lot of things have happened. And it's led to a year that's been interesting. I'll just go ahead and I'm going to try not to take as long as I did explaining everything as I did last year, because I know I did this last year and it 20 minutes or something. It's like I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more brief, a little less long redundancy, I guess. So let's go ahead and just start off with just kind of talking about the good things that happened this year, because there's been plenty of good. I just want to get the good out of the way because, I'm not going to get to the good if I start talking about the negative things, because I feel like I'm going to be going on about the negative stuff for a little while, potentially. This year has had some good stuff. Just kind of, I'm going to go from beginning to end of the year. I mean, second semester freshman year went well. I did pretty well in my classes. Even got awarded for how well I did during my first semester, which was pretty nice. I was slowly forming more of a friendship with the friends I made in college and stuff. In fact, in general, this year has been a year where I've just been growing my friendships with a lot of people, which has been very nice. That's been nice. Ending the semester pretty strong, pretty well, aside from missing a single final, which that was a little oops, but it wasn't that big of an issue at the end of the day. It's summer was really busy, had a bunch of fun stuff going on. I mean, it wasn't perfect. Starting off the summer by getting my wisdom teeth removed and other stuff, being knocked out for 2 weeks. That was, it wasn't terrible. It was just kind of I want to be doing stuff. The actual surgery went fine and everything. It was just kind of getting all of them removed. That was kind of well, I'm out for a bit. But then afterwards, it's just kind of after that, I mean, doing theater stuff with the theater group I've been a part of for, a decade now almost. Going to Japan, that was probably my biggest highlight of the year right there. Just going to Japan, going out of the country, going to this place I've wanted to visit for years now, and just being blown away by how beautiful the place was and just all the fun things we did. It wasn't an absolutely flawless trip, but man, it was great. It was so much fun. I might talk about those international trips I did one day. Those were great. And then from there, just performing on stage again, because I hadn't really done that in a little while, because I was going to just do theater stuff during college, but I just never had figured out the times to do that. And by the end of the summer and all that, a bunch of fun stuff was going on online. Kato Fandub, that's another standout moment for me right there. That was a good time. That was just a fantastic, made me feel good to be here kind of deal. And then from there, it's kind of fall and winter, where they had their issues, but generally they were just more low-key, which was always fine, considering it was pretty busy this year, as is. I mean, got to try out some stuff, got to start my first semester, start my sophomore year. I mean, the last couple months have not been the most great thing ever, but at least I can say it's kind of at least it was nice to just kind of be hanging out with people I care about. It's nice to be hanging out with my friends, doing Dungeons and Dragons, and just playing Dance Dance Revolution and stuff. So yeah, and in terms of the online stuff, outside of a couple of really good videos, I mean, 2.5k subscribers, 2.6 now actually. That's pretty cool. That's very awesome and stuff. It's so, I'm not saying this whole year was awful, because there were plenty of good things. That summer in general was really nice. But man, this year was also kind of rough for me. It's kind of funny. This was a year where I felt like I've been at like my happiest. But also it's kind of been, at some points in the year I've also just kind of been at my like most sad, most angry kind of deal. And these feelings were kind of like being the case since like the beginning of the year. Ever since January started going back to college, getting smacked with stuff like, oh, here's my childhood YouTuber being exposed for stuff that was over exaggerated and not even like that bad in the grand scheme of things overall. Like February, someone I was an associate of mine, someone who was also friends with some of my other friends, getting exposed for not good stuff. I'm not gonna name names for these things. It's more of a if you know, you know. That winter, like starting off the year like that was February was the first of quite a few breakdowns I had because of that. I felt like my trust was just shattered. And that's going to be a bit of a reoccurring theme throughout this like whole thing. Because this year has been a year where it's like, even ignoring like some of the big things like friends, just a lot of people in general I liked or at the very least respected, just kind of getting exposed for doing very just kind of terrible things. It's kind of like, well, it's always fun. It's just that when it happens to a friend of yours twice, it's just, you begin to not want to trust anyone, especially when it comes to like online. This was a year where I've kind of struggled to really like trust my friends. Not that it's one of those things where it's like I shouldn't be worried about them doing anything. It's just kind of, if one person I was friends with does something terrible, let's stop it. For all we know, another person could be doing something terrible. It's a terrible mindset, but what can you really do? It's just one of those things where it's a very poor mindset, but I've never exactly been known for having the best mindsets ever, to be fair. And yeah, it's just, this is also just a year where I've just never been happy with myself. It's something I've struggled with for years now. I've never truly been truly happy with who I am, with what I do. There's always been it could be me being a perfectionist or something, but just, I'm never satisfied with anything I do. Whether it's the whole YouTube stuff or my art. And even when I try something different, I just never feel like it was worth the time and effort. Because it just feels flawed in some way, and I just, it's one of those things where it's I see people loving my art and my videos and stuff, and while I thank people for that and I greatly appreciate it, I just kind of look at my own stuff and I just think, I don't see it. Maybe it's just me comparing myself to people all the time, other people who are just I see as better than me, or whatever, but I just never seen myself as particularly a standout person in that way. I've never had any standout talents or whatever, and that was something that's been especially I've beaten in my head a lot this year. And it maybe I'm just being hard on myself. I don't know. I have a hard time judging that myself, but yeah, it's spring was especially bad for me because it was just kind of a case of not moving on from things that happened the year before, as well as just other stuff where I'm just kind of is this whole internet thing worth it? Is it worth trying to pursue these hobbies when I should probably just be focusing on my studies instead and just kind of, getting ready for the real world? I need to grow up kind of deal, and that was probably the closest I've been to just completely quitting the internet. Or if nothing else, just quitting almost everything. Maybe I still would have kept the YouTube thing going. Maybe I still would have drawn stuff. But it probably would have been a lot less alive. Would have been a lot less active, and just it was very tempting. And I was assuming that if I did that, I didn't think people were going to care that much. People wouldn't really remember. It was pretty bad. And I blame myself for that entirely because, like, you know, it might just be a case of, yeah, I might be too harsh on myself, but when you've kind of grown up like that for years, it's a little hard to break out of these kinds of habits. It was kind of one reason why summer was so nice, because then it's kind of like I could ignore all that. I was just kind of doing my thing, and I was just hanging out with people and just, you know, ignoring the fact that I hate myself as a person, you know? I could ignore that for a second and just have fun. Like, just not worry about it. You know, I, like, that Cowboy fandom, like, literally the night after recording, when I went to bed, I cried myself to sleep. Not because I was sad, but because I was actually, like, genuinely happy. I was genuinely happy with myself for the first time in what felt like a while. And then September rolled around, and I'm sure if you know, you know, September was rough for different reasons. It involved another person that I once considered a friend. Yeah, I'm not going to go into much detail. Not just for myself, but also for the other people involved, because it was a mess. And then from there, I just kind of spiraled back into that self-loathing, back into that just questioning whether or not what I'm doing is worth it. Didn't help that this past semester of school was just, there wasn't much to really talk about with it. It wasn't terrible, but like I just felt nothing from it. And like October, I mean, I had the whole idea of doing the whole like spooky October thing I did. All my videos having some sort of spooky twist to it. I ended up just kind of not being happy at all with it. And especially with the payoff at the end, I was just so unsatisfied. And it just kind of made things worse. Which is on me, because I should have just been like, this would have been a fun idea. I'll do it next year or some other year. But then from there, it's kind of like, I don't know, November was fine. Birthday went well. It was nice having sushi with my friends on my birthday. That was nice. But aside from that, it was pretty much just kind of some of the same old. December rolled around. My finals were just so stressful. Like, so much more stressful than they needed to be. And then now I'm home. It's New Year's Eve. And now I just kind of feel nothing except for just not being happy. The whole thing is just this year I haven't been happy with myself. I was hoping this would be the year where I could finally move on from that. Start being happy with what I make. Getting better and better with what I do. Lose some physically wise, lose some weight. Start becoming like more active. Try out all these different ideas, and I just haven't. And I feel the same as I did last year. Just kind of not sure about the future. In fact, honestly, it's probably even worse now because I'm just not happy. I'm not really happy with how this year went overall. Even despite all the good things, it's just maybe it's just I think too much on the negative side of things, which I've been told quite a few times from some friends and also my family. My mom's made it pretty clear. It's like, you gotta stop doing that. But the problem is maybe it's just a habit thing, because I have a hard time focusing on the positive side of things. Really do. But at this point, screw it, we ball, At this point, I don't have any goals for next year. It's just do well in my classes, start making some form of income, because that needs to happen, and just try to lose my mind. That's kind of what I got going. Maybe next year will be something new, something different. Maybe that'll be the year where I finally move on from this kind of mindset. Or maybe maybe it'll just be the same. Who knows? Just gonna try to keep going. I don't plan on quitting anytime soon, but we'll see. For all I know, maybe next year will be my breaking point. I hope not, but I'm not ruling it out completely at this point. I want to try new things. I want to try different types of content, different types of just things in general. We'll see if I motivate myself to do them. We'll see if I motivate myself to get these things done. And maybe next year, maybe things can look up. We'll see. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's kind of how my year's been. And that's just kind of my plans for the future. So, hopefully this wasn't too rough of a listen. It probably is going to be. It's a little heavy. It's definitely a bit to take in. I won't deny that, but oh well. To all my friends, to all my family, to all the people there supporting me, thank you. You've made this year definitely more bearable. I feel like if it wasn't for y'all, I probably would have lost my mind. To just the communities I'm a part of, we're just enjoying what I do even despite all my BS. I appreciate you. I'll never take you for granted. And yeah, my college friends, y'all are awesome. To my family, y'all are also awesome. That is, yeah. Here's hoping next year's better. Here's hoping next year will be a change. Yeah, that's all. Happy New Year. Hope it's a good one.